Good morning. I wish to welcome everyone officially and declare the meeting open at 9 a.m. I'd like to advise that Councillor Baines is joining us via teleconference in the departed seat over there. Could I remind everybody that Council's ordinary meetings are open to the public and are also live streamed to provide access to all community members. Attendees in the gallery may be recorded, and this video and audio of the meeting will be available to the public on Council's website. I thank those of you in the public gallery today for your time and interest and for coming. I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land on which we stand, the Gulnay people, and acknowledge my respect for their current and emerging leaders and those in dreaming, and thank them for the contributions they have made in building our community. I'd like to welcome now Pastor Rob McGarry to do our opening prayer from the Tully Family Church.
Thanks, Trace. Just like to read from Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. Come to me, all you who labour and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest to your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Life gets pretty hectic, especially with events such as the Tully Centenary, as well as all the other things we're involved in. It can seem like there's no end to things that we need to do, actions that we need to take, and then what have we forgotten? And I think that's one of the things we're thinking right now is, what have we forgotten? How do we handle it? What about the stress of it all? There's something about having a living faith where our experience is that we can offload our concerns, pray about the things troubling us, seek His direction, find a way forward. It brings a real comfort and peace. This peace and rest is what we need with mental health of great community concern. And we hear about it all the time, of people stressed and don't really know how to handle it. Philippians 4 verses 6 and 7 says, be anxious for nothing. And we know that anxiety actually doesn't achieve anything. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. As we offload them, there is a peace that we can have that just passes understanding. We don't know how it comes, but it actually comes into our heart. And that's what we need in these times of stress and these days. So let's pray. Father, we just thank you for your presence here. We thank you that you've come to take our burdens from us, Lord, and to give us peace, even in the most troubling of times. And so I just pray this morning as this meeting proceeds, Lord, that there'll be a real peace about the meeting, that people would just consider matters with wisdom and understanding of each other. So we just pray you'd bless this meeting, bless the outcomes, and bless this shire, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks, Terence.
Have a great day.
You too.
Apologies. Are there any apologies? No, take that as a no. Okay, declaration of prescribed conflicts of interest or declarable conflicts of interest. Please use this opportunity to make public any prescribed conflicts of interest or declarable conflicts of interest in respect of the items in the agenda. Councillors should use this opportunity to disclose and or comment on other councillors and or staff interests in accordance with the Act and regulations. Does anybody have anything to declare? No? Okay, well, we'll move on to item 1.1, minutes of the local government meeting. I now call for a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the local government meeting held on the 24th of April 2024 as true and correct record. Moved by Nick, seconded by Councillor Chewy. Thank you. All in favour? How about you, Jeff?
Aye.
Councillor Baines?
Yes, aye.
Thank you. Item 2, business arising from previous minutes. Is there any business arising that any councillor would like to bring up? Councillor George.
Thank you, through the chair. Just the event strategy, and I just thank the team again for the work that they've done and going out to community. And it's great that there was such community input and people had a lot of great ideas about what they might like to see in our area. But without the volunteers and the community coming on board, those events won't happen. We've got great people in the community willing to put their hand up. So if you are looking to volunteer, it might just be a once a year event that you can put your hand up to contribute in. So once again, I reach out to community members. Please feel free to discuss with our team what event you might like to lead, because council will be there to give advice but not to lead. And and hopefully we can see some great, more events happening in the whole of the Cassowary coast. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to item 3. Notice of motion. Councillor McLeod has submitted a notice of motion. Councillor McLeod, would you now like to move your notice of motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and my fellow councillors. In accordance with S262 of the Local Government Regulations 2012, I have provided you all with a notice of intention to repeal part of Resolution LG 1569. And the recommendation is that Council repeal part of Resolution LG 1569, special meeting on the 14th of September 2023. Item 5, request that the Chief Executive Officer develop a terms of reference for the establishment of a Cardwell Mountain Bike Trails Program Management and Advisory Committee for endorsement at the September 2023 local government meeting.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Chewy seconded the motion. Councillor McLeod, would you like to speak to that?
If I can, I would like to speak to the motion, thank you. In furtherance of Stage 3 of the Cardwell Tropical Mountain Bike Trails project, a Memorandum of Understanding, which we'll call an MOU, will be put forward later today at the local government meeting for consideration. The MOU will provide a framework to continue collaborative progress on the project with the key stakeholders, and also provides for the implementation of Council Resolution LG 1569 special meeting on 14th of September 2023 for the project to progress to Stage 3, which is pre-construction and works packages, financial investment decision. Item 5 of the resolution number LG 1569, September 2023, requests that the Chief Executive Officer develop a terms of reference for the establishment of a Cardwell Mountain Bike Trails Program Management and Advisory Committee for endorsement at the September 2023 local government meeting. This motion asks for part of the resolution number LG 1569 being item 5, with the Advisory Committee function to be replaced through the implementation of a Memorandum of Understanding, as item 5 of resolution number LG 1569 has not been acted upon as yet. The MOU will provide the level of agility and flexibility to allow timely stakeholder input into the project at an operational level within the project management framework through to the project control group, which the Advisory Committee framework does not. Similarly to the role of an advisory committee, the MOU does not confer any decision-making powers in relation to the final decisions of the project to the parties to the MOU. The parties to the MOU are Cassowary Coast Regional Council, Girramay People Aboriginal Corporation, which is RNTBC, Girragan Aboriginal Corporation, and the Cardwell Mountain Bike Trails Incorporated. The MOU is time limited in accordance with Stage 3 of the project and continues the collaborative approach which has brought the project to the stage being pre-construction and work packages, financial investment decision. In summary, the MOU provides that Council is responsible for preparation and submission of a major funding application for Stage 3, with the other parties supporting this application. Council leads project advocacy with the support of other parties, and Council is responsible for project management. I look forward to Council continuing the collaborative and cooperative working relationships between the parties and stakeholders to achieve the outcomes of the Cardwell Tropical Mountain Bike Trails Project Stage 3 in accordance with the business case endorsed by Council through Resolution number 1569 at the special meeting of Council on 14th of September 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod. Does anybody wish to speak to the motion? I do. Just bring it up here, just a minute. So I've got a couple of questions. So can you explain why we're moving from the terms of reference to the MOU? Like, I want to know what the differences are in that.
I'll speak to that. Oh, do you? Like I said in the MOU provides a more agile and collaborative framework at an operational level to deliver stage 3 of the project, and that is achievable under the form. It wasn't under the achievable under their formal advisory committee structure. So, like I said, the MOU provides flexibility to allow timely stakeholder input, collaboration and cooperation through the project management framework.
So did you say it was unachievable through the terms of reference?
Correct.
So, through the chair, the resolution back from September 23 was for the Chief Executive Officer to bring that terms of reference back to Council. Officers engaged with the parties that would have been either a party to a terms of reference or a group, and have decided to work together to develop an MOU to give to focus on objectives like providing advice and recommendations to Council's project control group, supporting the development of the funding applications, support advocacy at a local and state and federal level, establishing a collaborative framework and undertaking to contribute to work together towards stage 3. So it provides a broader opportunity for the parties that is not as constrained as it would have been through that terms of reference. So as highlighted, officers have presented a report at 5.3 in today's agenda to consider an MOU.
Yep. So by removing the CEO's involvement in providing the terms of reference, are we opening ourselves up for uncertainty, as this is a level, in my eyes, this is a level of protection to the whole region and the ratepayers in decisions and how this folds out? Because normally we have a terms of reference in any major projects. We have terms of reference in lots of things, like with our leases and everything else that we go through and people have to actually agree to. So it just brings a little bit of uncertainty for me to actually remove it when we'd already voted to have it in there.
So through the chair, a terms of reference isn't a legal instrument that binds parties. The terms of reference would be something that council would adopt, that would set out the individuals that would be a party to that group. And just as the MOU does, the MOU clearly sets out the parties that are, or the groups that are party to that MOU. So it doesn't expose council through the MOU. The MOU is really about putting together funding applications and joint advocacy to chase funding for what we call stage 3 of the Cardwell Mountain Bike Project. So as you're aware, council adopt a budget, and if there's not funding in the budget, then officers don't have money to commit to projects like this. So at this stage, there's no exposure to council through this MOU. It's really just a memorandum of understanding between the parties that allows us to work collaboratively towards that goal, which is the funding of stage 3.
Okay, so with the removal of this, so further down the track today, we will get the memorandum of understanding, which will give me all the guidance and the replacement of the terms in the MOU, I would imagine. Yeah. And so this isn't going to legally bind council or have any final decision-making powers once this is changed over? So
through the chair, the terms of reference didn't ever come, or hasn't yet come, to council. So through that consultation, the MOU was seen by parties as a better mechanism to deal with stage 3. So there hasn't been, we're not removing a terms of reference that's previously. The resolution was for the CEO to present a terms of reference to council, so that hasn't been actioned. And yeah, like I said, with the guiding principles and the objectives in that MOU, it's really a memorandum of understanding. It's not a binding legal instrument.
It's just a bit of a security blanket, I feel, and so there's no pass on of any risk or financial implications to council by removing it. Yeah,
Through the chair, there is no terms of reference to remove, so it's really just rescinding or repealing that that resolution, which was for the CEO to present a terms of reference to council. So the MOU states council's responsibilities are project management, which we already have a project control group set up, arranging meetings and field trips and undertaking administration and secretariat functions and matters relating to the MOU, preparation and submission of the major funding application to the regional precincts and partnership program, so Stream 1, supporting the preparation and specific funding applications for Girramay and Girrigan in relation to achieving project outcomes, leading project advocacy and other undertaking as necessary to progress the Cardwell Mountain Trails project stage 3.
So I just have one more question. So with any other project control group, do we normally have a terms of reference?
So through the chair, we have a PCG for for the project with normalisation of Port Hinchinbrook. So we don't have a external stakeholder group down there. So there's no terms of reference for a stakeholder group. For the Mission Beach master plan, we have a PCG for that. That had a specific stakeholder reference group, and that stakeholder reference group were discreetly used to inform the design, the detailed design process.
So they had a terms of reference though?
That group had a terms of reference, but this is broader than developing a detailed design and speaking on behalf of community. This MOU brings together the key partners that have been working towards this project.
Okay. Everybody happy with what we're about to vote on? We all fully understand what we're doing here? Okay. All in favour? Everyone's in favour?
Aye.
Thanks, Councillor Bain, sorry. I can't see you, so I did actually forget you. That's all in favour, thank you.
I didn't see your hand.
Okay, let's get back over here. We shall move on to 4 major projects. 4.1, Tropical Jasper DRFA Category B works. This will be presented by Mr. Chugg. Oh no, it's not, it's Mr. Goodman, sorry.
Mr. Chugg's put on a lot of weight. Morning, councillors. Councillors, the main purpose of this report is to seek approval to extend an existing contract with Shepherd Services for project management of damage assessment of essential public assets associated with Tropical Cyclone Jasper and the flooding that came with it. I guess an extension to that is that there has been significant flooding after Cyclone Jasper as well, and the Queensland Reconstruction Authority are comfortable in considering damage with flooding in a more general term rather than just the immediate flood after Cyclone Jasper. Tropical Cyclone Jasper crossed the Queensland coast as a Category 2 system on 13 December 2023. Cassowary Coast Regional Council has been activated for this event for a range of disaster assistance through the joint state and Commonwealth disaster recovery funding arrangements. Otherwise, I'll shorten to DRFA through the balance of my discussion, and that's to address immediate and long-term impacts from those disaster events. DRFA is a cost-sharing arrangement. In Queensland, this program is managed on a whole-of-government basis by the Queensland Reconstruction Authority, the QRA. Specifically, the context of this report is to do with Category B funding, and that includes assistance to local governments for the restoration of essential public assets. And in many cases, rectification works can't be delayed, and the costs for these urgent works are captured as either emergent works or immediate reconstruction works. And then the balance is managed via the REPA submissions, restoration of essential public assets, to reconstruct the asset to pre-disaster function. So I should highlight, within the general context, it's not identified in the risk implications in this report, but in a more general sense, councils can be exposed to significant financial risk by accelerating those works into emergent works or immediate reconstruction works without prior approval by the Queensland Reconstruction Authority. There are trigger points for the financial contributions local governments must make during an eligible event. In this event, the CCRC trigger point is $266,865. That's the amount in practice that council will need to fund out of this disaster associated with Category B funding. Engagement of experienced consultants with the required resources was a priority to assist council immediately post disaster. Multiple proposals were received using a local buy panel assessment, Asset Management Services LB280, to complete the project management of the damage assessment effort. Shepherd Services were subsequently engaged in December 2023 to commence assessments. Ongoing rainfall and floods have extended this effort and scope. The original scope was not considered that there would be a significant amount of culvert damage, and so we have identified a significant amount of culvert damage, and that's entirely a much more manual process in those inspections, and that's added significantly to the scope of works here. Preliminary estimates for the cost of completing the reconstruction works are in the range of $30 to $40 million. We are going to split those submissions into 10 submissions to aid in progressive submission approvals, construction contracting, and staged acquittal of delivery works. That will help us a lot with cash flow management as we go through this project. Current forecast completion date for submission approvals by the QRA is September 2024. Very confident that the vast majority of those submissions will be approved by that time. Implementation of the reconstruction works will, we anticipate, will be able to kick off very soon after that because of the procurement processes we're going through, but they will continue through until 2026. Councillors, the recommendation is that Council note the contract PI 068340 was awarded using local buy panel arrangements under delegation with Shepherd Services in December 2023 to commence project management of the Reaper damage assessment. Secondly, that Council approve the latest forecast contract value with Shepherd Services, which is estimated to be $1.2 million at completion. Thirdly, in accordance with the Local Government Act 2009, delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to proceed with variations to the current contract, negotiate, finalise and execute any and all matters associated with or in relation to the contract, subject to Council's normal procurement policies and practices. And lastly, 4, thank the state and federal governments for funding provided to this project.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Purven.
Yeah, just a question on the report there, Mr. Goodman. 1.2 million. Can this be claimed back through council through the DRFA funding or no?
Through the chair, certainly, Councillor Pervin, project management of the damage assessment is eligible for funding, and we anticipate it will be 100% funded through the disaster relief funding arrangements.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Jessup?
Yeah, I just want to clarify if the funding doesn't get handed out until September, is that when the works will start, or we're not going to start them any earlier?
Through the chair, so some works have already started. Work started almost immediately. Yes, we have been, not I guess, very clearly council's been significantly impacted in the works that we've been able to deliver as either, I'll just make sure I use the correct words, the emergent works or immediate reconstruction works, and we are eligible to continue to undertake those works up until 30 June. So we will continue to do undertake both of those categories. It is possible, it is also not possible, it is open to council to proceed with all of the works as soon as possible and then seek funding afterwards. We will always advocate to council that there's a significant financial risk that comes with that, and on that basis we recommend that council, for the majority of the works, wait until we have approval from the Queensland Reconstruction Authority to undertake those works before we commit to those undertakings. It is unlikely, but you know, if we're talking $40 million worth of works here, if 20% of that works at the end of the day was not going to be funded by the recommended for funding by the Queensland Reconstruction Authority, that would make a very significant financial impact to the organisation.
Councillor Pervin?
So, Mr. Goodman, just for the general people out there that are ringing up in relation to roads, you know, people ring me quite often about their roads being broken down and stuff like that. The works that are being undertaken at the moment, kind of is just a bit of a band-aid fix, isn't it? Is that correct? I mean, we've had some bad weather since November last year, so council crews can't get out there and fix everything to its full potential. So they're just a band-aid fix at this point in time until this funding comes through and we can get around to do it when we get some fine weather. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yeah, that is correct. We understand the frustration in the community with the state of our road network. The figure that we have right now is that about 40% of our unsealed road net is subject to submission and hopefully approval for works by the Queensland Reconstruction Authority. Give you an idea that I think gives you an idea of the extent of the works. We've had very limited dry days and accessible days for our teams, or we certainly are looking to engage contractors as and where we can to get out and do that emergent works on our unsealed road network. Yes, it is. Because of the extent, we are doing a modified grading program. We're calling it patrol grading. It's certainly not what we recognise as best practice, but it allows us to provide some benefit to a very as quick as we can, and then come back with our more standard management practices. I guess to give you an idea of what we have been able to do, we've had one good period in 2024 in early April where we had 6 days of clear weather, 6 consistent days, and we were able with 6 crews to get across 80 kilometres of our unsealed road network in that week. I am sure a lot of those roads that we touched in that time are already back in as at least as bad a condition. But that is what we intend to be doing in the short term, and we apply as many resources as we can reasonably apply to I guess that's a pretty good description, Councillor Pervin, is to band-aid our road network, try to improve it where we can, and then come back with a full restoration projects that are funded by through DRFA.
Councillor Reid.
Yeah, through the chair, just like to ask Mr. Goodman, those 10 submissions, are they in any sort of priority of how bad the worst, damage, or who prioritises it?
We are prioritising the unsealed roads first to go through, but I guess it is normally the way that the Queensland Reconstruction Authority will work is they will apply the priorities that we have in their assessment, but it is in their hands. So they will. Yeah, we make a funding submission, and then we provide additional information as required. We discuss with them, but ultimately the methodology of their approval and when they approve, it's up to them.
Okay, thanks for your answer, because some people ask me that, how is the money prioritised? So, but yeah, thank you.
Councillor Jasper.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair. I've been talking to a lot of people, like farmers, that are worried about the season starting soon, trying to get their cane out. A couple of them have said to me that they're going to get the blade out and grade their own road. Is this something that the council would endorse or advise not to do?
Through the chair, strong advice to, while I understand the frustration in the community, if a business or if anybody was to do that, one, they are not complying with council's local laws. It would require a permit to undertake works on a road. But I guess more importantly, for those that might be thinking about that, is the risk that they're exposing themselves to. Without approval to do that work on the road and appropriate insurances, they would expose themselves to very significant risk if there is either direct damage or some sort of accident while they're undertaking that work with a member of the public on a public road, or subsequent damage that might be argued that would be associated with the work that they'd undertaken. I understand the frustration, but my strong advice is to those that might be considering that is don't do it.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Baines, you got anything to add?
No.
So I get the frustrations too, but I went for a drive up the hill the other day, and it's not only unsealed roads, and we're not the only ones in this position. The road on the way up to Miller and up to the likes of Ravenshoe and that's actually on Bitumen Road, was actually very poor. So I'd also like to thank the state and the federal governments for their contributions. How do we see this progressing once the funding allocation is given, as the enormity of the works that needs to be done is huge, as we know? Do we look to go out to contract, or what would we be doing there, Mr. Goodman?
Through the chair, yes. The scale of the amount of work to deliver, the vast majority of this work will be delivered by contract.
Okay, and there's one more question. The vehicles that are getting around that the community sees that are unmarked with cameras on the sides, are they to do with the people reviewing our network? Do you know?
Through the chair, I guess without knowing exactly what they're looking at, yes, they could be Google's. Cars get driving around with cameras on, and putting a camera on a vehicle is you're entitled to do it. But I will say this, that yes, we have engaged. Part of the service that Shepherd Services provide is a system called RACUS, which allows for very quick pickup, particularly on our sealed road network, of damage. And that has, we did run the entire road network with, actually that was all complete between the window of Christmas and New Year 2023, but given the additional flooding and the I guess delayed failure of some of our sealed road network, that work has been done again just in the last few weeks. So that may well be the vehicle that
Absolutely.
the residents
well,
are
they
looking
asked
at.
if we were spying on them, and I said, "Oh, well, we don't generally send spies out to spy on people." So I just thought I'd ask the question. And the culvert damage that you referred to before, would an example of that be? Would Kroger Road be an example of that, or not? Is that larger to the extent?
Through the chair, Kroger Road is, I guess, unfortunately for the residents on Kroger Road, a much more obvious defect where the causeway has been washed down the creek. And what I'm getting at is the sort of the large number of culverts that we have in our network, and you can't really document. You can't drive past at 80 kilometres an hour with a vehicle and document the take photos and then go back into the office and document that damage. It's a much more manual process of getting down on your hands and knees and sticking your head up a culvert and taking some photos of that, and much more manual process, which is taking time. Time equates to money.
Yeah,
So that's
sure.
that's what I guess what I was pointing at with the culverts
You
is
get a better result if you're going to check it out thoroughly, don't you? Other than just rush over the
certainly
surface,
can't
so-
tell by just driving past.
No. Okay. Do we have somebody want to move the motion? Moved by Councillor Pervin, seconded by Councillor Jessup. All those in favour? Councillor Baines.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so moving on to community and culture, 5.1, the regional arts development, round 2, presented by Ms. Savallo. Trying to be really technical here, so just bear with me. I've got running 2 pages, so I haven't got books and paper.
Morning. I'm here to present the report for the Regional Arts Development Fund to Council. So the Regional Arts Development Fund is delivered as a partnership between the Queensland Government through Arts Queensland and provides funding to support arts, culture and heritage projects in the Cassowary Coast. So round 2 of the 2023-24 RADF opened on the 20th of February to the 7th of April 2024. So applications are received and assessed for round 2 of the RADF program are detailed in Table 1 of your report, with 5 applications received and 1 deemed ineligible as not meeting the program guidelines. So I'll refer to Table 1 of your report. So resourcing of the Regional Arts Development Fund is provided from Council's operational budget, with funding allocated from the Queensland Government through Arts Queensland. The 2023-24 operational budget allocation for the Regional Arts Development Fund is $36,475. The total value of assessed projects recommended for Council's consideration is $15,535. There is no further funding allocation for this round. I'll go to the recommendation. The recommendation is that Council approves the recommendations of the Regional Arts Development Assessment Panel, being the listed projects to receive round 2 funding. A, the Innisfail Historical Society for the Tropical Art Deco Community Engagement Project for the grant funding recommended of $3,541. Item B, Carlia D. Ryder for her project The Masterclass Sessions, grant funding recommended of $3,541. C, the Innisfail Community Band for their project Exploring and Performing Homegrown Music. The grant funding recommended is $2,912. D, Cosima Stokehold for the project Dungan Sunda Artist Residency for grant funding recommended of $3,541. And 2, delegates authority to the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with the Local Government Act to finalise any and all matters pertaining to the Regional Arts Development Fund Round 2 agreements.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Chewy, seconded by Councillor Jessup.
Yep, thank you. Through the chair, just thank you to Ms Sabello and team for working on this, and thank you to those people that do take the time to create these wonderful experiences for members of our community and to take the time to fill in the application forms. Not everybody plays football or netball, so it's wonderful that there's different programs out there for different members of our community, so thank you to all involved.
Anybody else got anything further? All in favour? Carried. All in favour, yep. Excuse
Aye.
me, yes, thanks Councillor Baines. Okay, we'll move on to 5.2. Community Grants and Support Program Round 2. This will be presented by Ms Knoll. Oh no, sorry. We've got Ms Hack presenting, sorry.
Good morning. I'm here to present the Community Grants and Support Program, Round 2 of the Environmental Sustainability and Community and Economy streams, open for applications on the 20th of February and closed on the 7th of April and ran concurrently. I'd just like the councillors to refer to Table 1 for the total applications that have come in for both the environmental sustainability and community and economy. And just refer to Table 2 in regards to the assessment outcomes. So 6 of the environmental sustainability applications met the criteria and 1 was not recommended. And then referring to Table 3 for the 24 community and economy submissions, with 16 recommended and 7 not recommended. The financial and resource implications of the programs were their environmental sustainability program stream has a total allocation of $35,000 within the 23 and 24 operational budget. Total major projects submitted for consideration were $14,016.19. Total major projects recommended were $19,016.19, with 1 application submitted for the Community and Economy Program stream, which was deemed by both assessment panels to be more suitable fit for the guidelines of the Environmental Sustainability stream, as it was for an environmental impact assessment. Total minor projects submitted for consideration for the Environmental Sustainability Program was $6,000, and the total minor projects recommended came to $14,000. The applications recommended for funding leaves a balance of $11,983.81 in this fund. The surplus funds will be put forward for allocation to the Community and Economy Minor Project Stream, Round 2, given that no further funding rounds will be available for the 23-24 financial year. For the Community and Economy Program stream, funds available for the Community Grants and Support Program are provided in 23-24 operational budget, with a balance of $49,928.02 available for allocation. The surplus funds of $11,983.81 from the Environmental Sustainability Program are put forward for allocation to the Community and Economy Minor Project stream. The total available allocation is $61,911.83. Total eligible minor projects submitted for consideration were $11,792.70. Total minor projects recommended were $11,792.70. Total eligible major projects submitted for consideration was $74,687.48, and the total major projects recommended in this report was $44,948.02. The total applications recommended for funding was $56,740.72. So the recommendation is that Council 1, endorse the following recommendations of the assessment panels for round 2 of the 2023 to 2024 Community Grants and Support Program, with A, Environmental Sustainability Stream, applicant Bretta Corp for their project Wilsowit Park Revegetation for $2,000, applicant Friends of Nini Rise for their project Chairs for Community Events, grant funding recommended $2,000. Applicant Johnson River Community Gardens for their project to increase safe storage capacity, grant funding recommended $5,000, subject to building approval if required. Applicant Carey Baptist Grammar School for their project Closing the Loop on Food Waste at Zero, total grant funding recommended $4,058, subject to development approvals on that land. Applicant Johnson River Landcare for their project Trailer Covers for Plant Trailers, grant funding recommended $4,958.19. Applicant Silkwood Clay Target Club for their environmental noise assessment with a grant funding recommendation of $5,000. And then B, Community and Economy Stream. Applicant Innisfail and District Historical Society for their project Innisfail 2024 Art Deco Festival with grant funding recommended $5,000. Applicant Queensland Police Citizens Youth Welfare Association Innisfail Branch. Project details PCYC Innisfail After Dark Drop-In Program. Grant funding recommended $4,845. Applicant Innisfail Game Fishing Club for their project Community Engagement Fishing Simulator. Grant funding recommended $5,000. Applicant Greek Orthodox Community of Innisfail in North Queensland for their project Greek Taverna Night, 90 Years of Greek Culture. Grant funding recommended $5,000. Applicant Tully and District Chamber of Commerce for their project the 2024 Tully Christmas Street Party. Grant funding recommended $5,000. Applicant Cardwell UFO Festival Incorporated for their project 2024 Australian UFO Festival with grant funding recommended $5,000. Applicant Mission Beach Outrigger Club for their project Vaka Tuamoto 2024 Regatta Festival. Grant funding recommended $4,000. Applicant Cassowary Coast Multi-Sport Club project On a Mission Multi-Sport Adventure Volunteer and Youth Support Program. Total project value I have here $6,275. Tully Horse Performance Centre project details increased services feasibility. Grant funding recommended $2,700. Applicant Tully Horse Performance Centre. Oh, that's a repeat. Sorry about that. Applicant Mission Beach Sailing Club. Project details club roller door upgrade. Grant funding recommended $3,403.02. I'll keep it going. Yeah. Tully Nursing Home, their project details group fitness activity. Grant funding recommended $1,980. Applicant Innisfail Woodworkers Guild for their project Safety and Service and Security. Grant funded recommended $2,000. Applicant Gilligan Aboriginal Corporation for their project Runs on the Board Suicide Awareness Project. with a grant funding recommended of $1,990. Applicant Innisfail Combined Sporting Association for their project Pressure Clean Clubhouse and Pavilion, grant funding recommended $2,000. Applicant Innisfail Touch Association for their project Come and Try Carnival, grant funding recommended $2,000. Cardwell and District Pickleball Club for their project Shade for Players, grant funding recommended $1,822.70. Recommendation 2, allocate $11,983.81 from the Environmental Sustainability Program budget to the Community and Economy Stream Fund for the assessment panel recommendations. Recommendation 3, note the increased number and high standard of applications and acknowledge and thank all applicants for their submissions. And number 4, delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with the Local Government Act to finalise any and all matters relating to the 2023 to 2024 round 2 of the Community Grants and Support Program for the Community and Economy and Environmental Sustainability streams. There was a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that amount for the, that wasn't there for the, for the grant funding for the multi-purpose group, which was 5,000.
Yeah, through the chair, on a mission multi-sport adventure, so the project value is 6,275 and the request was for 5,000 and the grant funding for 5,000.
No,
We'll capture that
yes.
We put that in there.
Yeah.
That's all.
in the recommendations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Chewy, yeah.
Sorry, once again, thank you to the team and councillors who came on board, and thank you to the community, because it really was gratifying to see community reach out and apply for these applications, and obviously a very mixed and varied needs for funding. So well done. There were some brilliantly executed applications in those ones that we did receive, and for those that didn't make it, please find out why. I know the team will let you know why, but don't be disheartened and please try again. Thank you very much. Well done, everybody.
Councillor McLeod.
Yeah, through the chair, I'll second that also, but there was some really good applications that came through, and it's really good to see that these events going to be happening and supporting local businesses as well, which we do look at. So this money is going straight into these events and back into the local businesses. So it's really good, and I commend everybody who put an application in, and look out for the next round coming.
Any further questions from the floor? No. So I've got a question, but I'm not going to ask it to you. I'm going to ask it to Mr. CEO that was put to me the other day. Could we please explain how council gets this allocation to fund the grants, please?
Through the chair, council budget for the community grants annually. So it's a consideration of council when they look at operational requests. So each year a operational request through the budget process is brought to council. Council will consider the operational request and the total quantum of funding that they would like to provide, and that's then voted on annually as part of the budget process.
Thank you. Okay, so all in favour? We're all in favour? Thank you, Councillor Baines. It was moved by Councillor Chewy and seconded by Councillor McLeod. Thank you. Thank you. Move on to 5.3, Cardwell Tropical Mountain Bike Trails Memorandum of Understanding, and this will be presented by Mr. Blanchett. Keep looking over, I'm going to say
So, good morning, councillors. Morning, Madam Mayor. The report today is the Cardwell Tropical Mountain Bike Trails Memorandum of Understanding, and I'll take the report as read and just do a quick intro for you. Council endorsed progressing to the next stage, we're calling stage 3, of the Cardwell Tropical Mountain Bike Trails project at the Special Council meeting on 14 September 2023. The report today is about a Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU document. The document aligns with continuing respected collaborative work on this project with the Cardwell community, the Girramay traditional owners, and the Girrigan Aboriginal Corporation. The MOU puts in words the engagement principles we've been working to throughout the project to date. The MOU document respectfully recognises the parties involved and documents the collaborative framework which we are ambitious to continue as we progress the project. Next step would be to seek funding for stage 3, and if successful, Council's project management framework will be applied and a project control group put in place. But today's report to Council is to present the MOU document only. The recommendations, there are two. That Council, number 1, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a Memorandum of Understanding for the Cardwell Tropical Mountain Bike Trails Project Stage 3, pre-construction and work packages, financial investment decision, as presented with this report, with the parties to the MOU being the Girramay People Aboriginal Corporation RNTBC, the Girrigan Aboriginal Corporation, and Cardwell Mountain Bike Trails Group Incorporated, to provide the framework to continue collaborative progress on this project. And recommendation number 2, acknowledge and thank the key stakeholders for their collaborative input in progressing the Cardwell Tropical Mountain Bike Trails project.
Thank you. No questions from the floor? So when we talk about funding applications for stage 3, could you please elaborate on what stage 3 actually is?
Yes, sure. Through the chair, as reported in September, it's the pre-construction stage. So stage 3 is about the due diligence and the detailed work, ecological assessments and cultural heritage assessments.
So stage 3 is not necessarily the funding for the entire project?
Correct. Through the project, we're following a process the state has guided and has invested in. And stage 3 is up to pre-construction and what is commonly called shovel ready.
So then what happens after we do that? What's the next step after that?
Yeah, so following the process identified in the adopted business case, after that then there would be, when you're shovel ready, you would then use that process to seek funding to progress the building.
So before we actually go to that stage, does it come back to council for a resolution?
Yeah, through the chair, absolutely. As we've noted in the report, there's no next step. Today is simply an MOU to sort of respect and document the working relationship with those stakeholders noted. Any further progress would be a report to council.
Would you be able to provide me with a refined list of within the groups that are in the MOU, a refined list of who's actually, how many members these groups have, and yep, am I able to be supplied with that at a later date?
Yeah, through the chair. So Girramay Aboriginal Corporations and RNTBC, so we can qualify who they are. Girrigan Aboriginal Corporation and the Cardwell Mountain Bike Trail Group. If you're referring to those three, yes, we can.
So what I'm actually referring to, is there specific representation out of those groups, or is it, can anybody out of those groups represent that group, or?
Yep, through the chair.
Through the chair, there are nominated representatives at the table. We've got a project stakeholder group, so there are nominated representatives from that group, and the MOU provides that those delegates have to take it's expected of those delegates to take the outcomes of the meetings, any meeting minutes, any decision making back through their internal processes for a board decision. And if there is something material which then needs to come to council for a resolution, we require the resolution of that board to be submitted to our project control group, the project framework, and that will accompany any documentation that forms part of council's decision making process.
Okay, and once again, or whatever the decision is today of the MOU, that this is not a legal binding, we can opt out or at any time.
Through the chair, the MOU has 2 clauses that specifically provide that the it is not a legally binding document. However, to say that within the normal course of business, because we're dealing with confidential matters, those matters of confidentiality in the normal course of business would be legally binding.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yes, Councillor McLeod.
Thank you. First, I'd like to move that. But also, this is the next stage. We've got the business case. This is the next stage to get it shovel ready so we can go for grant funding. 3 groups are ready and rolling to go. But just make note that there's just shy of 350,000 people who participate in mountain biking across Australia, with a direct spend of just over $630 million, and it supports just over 6,000 jobs. So to have a little bit of that in our region, to bring more people to our region as a tourism and economic piece, I think is absolutely wonderful. So yeah, I would like to move that motion. Thanks.
Moved by Councillor McLeod. I too agree that it's a wonderful project, and I think it would be wonderful to bring all those people to town, but I've just got to make sure that whilst this proceeds, that it doesn't fall back on the shoulders of the ratepayers. So that's why I diligently ask all the questions, and I thank you for your answering my questions. So thank you. Councillor Reid? Second it. Everyone's all those in favour? Councillor Baines? Yep, all in favour. Seconder, Councillor Reid. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, 5.4. PCYC Innisfail Memorandum of Understanding, and we have Ms. Val.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a short one. PCYC Innisfail and Council are seeking to enter into an MOU to support the delivery of initiatives for young people between the ages of 12 and 24 within the Cassowary Coast local government area. PCYC opened in Innisfail in 1982 and since then has committed to delivering crime prevention and youth programs to the local community. PCYC Innisfail prides itself on providing a safe and supportive environment for all members who participate in their programs and use their services. This initiative supports Council's corporate focus within our community through supporting and valuing families, children, young people and seniors of all abilities, and supporting an active community through growing participation in sport and recreational activities. This initiative also reflects the 2022 Community Scorecard outcomes, with youth services being a high priority. The recommendation that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to enter into the Memorandum of Understanding commencing on 1st of July 2024 and ending on 30th of June 2026 with the Queensland Police Citizens Youth Welfare Association PCYC Innisfail as presented with this report, and acknowledge the contribution of the PCYC Innisfail team to delivering positive outcomes for the young people of the Cassowary Coast region.
Right. Councillor McLeod.
Thank you. Through the chair, I will endorse this, but I want to note the massive work that PCYC are doing at the moment, and this is great that we've got an MOU coming. I actually was a youth leader when I was 13 years old and saw firsthand exactly what PCYC do for the youth, and what they're doing now, especially with the Youth After Dark and Break the Cycle driving. It's phenomenal what they've done in the last couple of years, so kudos to them.
Thank you. Councillor Chewy seconded the motion. Anybody else want to speak to it? All in favour? Everyone's in favour? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. The voice from the deep. Okay, we've got, move on to economic activation and tourism, 6.1, small business friendly charter. Annual report. This will be presented by Ms. Clark.
Morning, Council. Thank you. So through to the Chair, Cassowary Coast Regional Council is actively committed to enhancing the operating environment for small businesses across the region. This report represents the Cassowary Coast Small Business Friendly Annual Report for 2024, along with the feedback from the Queensland Small Business Commissioner that provides insight into the efforts made by Council to uphold the commitments that are outlined in our Charter. The report highlights the investment Council has made to develop the strategic direction and measurement tools that will enable Council to continue the progression towards an environment that positions small businesses to thrive in our region, providing insight into the progress of 34 deliverables at the time of publication. The report features a number of short-term wins that have been achieved to date, including initiatives such as our skilled medical professional recruitment, our Doing Business website, the Cassowary Coast Careers Day, the Regional University Study Hub project, the Growing Stronger Together Economic Development Strategy, our disaster resilience work, our business engagement, the changes to our procurement policy, and our Economic Development Advisory Committee. Council recognises that enhancing the operating environment across the Cassowary Coast to support small business is a continual commitment and will require long-term collaboration and support both internally and from external stakeholders. It is also important to celebrate the progress and achievements that occur as we work towards a common goal. Council submitted a nomination for the Queensland Small Business Commissioner's Small Business Friendly Awards for 2024 in the Regional Member of the Year category. Council has been recognised as one of 3 finalists in this category, with the announcement of a winner to be made at this year's Small Business Friendly Conference in Cairns on the 30th of May. The nomination was required to be supported by local businesses whom have worked with Council, and written references are provided as attachments to this report. The references highlight a renewed focus across Council to provide the support small businesses need. They demonstrate an approach to Council's small business friendly charter commitments that are genuine and collaborative. So this morning, councillors, the recommendation that are brought before you are that Council, 1, acknowledges the 3,174 small businesses across the Cassowary Coast as key drivers of economic growth and social cohesion within the region. That we celebrate the small businesses as regional wealth creators and providers of over 8,000 local jobs. We highlight the appreciation for the vital role that small businesses play in sustaining and enhancing local livelihoods, and note the correspondence received from the Queensland Small Business Commissioner in Attachment A, commending Council for its efforts to date as a small business friendly council, and highlighting the ongoing commitment and motivation required from Council to continue endeavours that support local business. And lastly, endorse the Cassowary Coast Small Business Friendly Council Annual Report for 2024 as Attachment D.
Councillor McLeod.
Yes, through the chair. I want to commend you, Ms Clark, and your very, very, very small team to get this achieved in such a short time. 12 items have been met, with the remaining 22 now transitioning to in progress, which is massive in that short time frame. But I do want to highlight the short-term wins in the report. As you mentioned, the 2024 finalist, Regional Member of the Year, the Regional University Study Hub that will kick off July this year. But mainly for me is the $2.8 million increase in council spend with local businesses just in 22-23. That is massive for our region, and it brings music to my ears. And another one is building small business capability. So 11 local small businesses received over $70,000 in funding through to Jasper. So it's phenomenal. So well done and congratulations.
Thank you.
Councillor Chewy.
Thank you. I'm happy to second the motion. Just regarding that grant funding, could you just give a brief outline of how that came about, and how do, if I was a small business operator, how do I get involved if I'm sort of new to the area and just listening and seeing all this happening? How do I get involved? What do I do? What can you do for me?
Yeah. So through to the chair. So to provide some clarity around that short win, so what we do is we work collaboratively with the Department of Youth Justice, Employment, Small Business and Training. So they release a number of grants that support small business over the year, and this is generally their Business Boost, their Business Growth Grants and their Business Basic Grants. And so we host sessions in region, and along with reaching out to businesses that we work with and know of, we also promote it quite broadly through Chambers of Commerce, Business Women's Network, and anyone that we can get our hands on so that they can find out about these sessions. And what we do is we have a DESBIT officer come into region and provide tailored support, so one-on-one to help them get an application across the line, and we provide any letters of support or background support that's required as well. But if you are a small business coming into the region, we do have our email, so it is sbfc@ccrc.qld.gov.au that you can always contact directly and engage with one of the team, or you can jump on our Doing Business website, which is receiving some very good upgrades as we currently speak, and access all of the information you would require.
And I'm sure Councillor McLeod would make herself available for questions as well, as it's your portfolio. Thank you, Councillor.
So the Small Business Charter is very exciting, and it's great that you and your team are providing support to small businesses who then support the employment of approximately 8,000 people in this region. That's pretty big. It's really good. I believe, Ms Clark, that you and your team are making council and the Cassowary Coast known with earning a nomination in the up-and-coming Small Business Awards. So I congratulate you on your nomination and wish you all the best and hope you get rewarded for your efforts. So we had the mover was Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor Chewy. Anybody else want to make any comment? All those in favour? We're all in favour. Councillor Baines?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sure, could we just cut for 5 minutes, please? Welcome back. Thank you for that. We're up to item 7.1, monthly finance performance report, April 2024. And this will be presented by Ms. Peters. Morning. How are you?
Good morning, Councillor Cardwell. Morning, Mayor. So I'm here today to present the monthly finance performance report as at April 2024. A reminder that the budget review within this report is BR2 as adopted by Council on the 22nd of February 2024. Financial performance highlights include the following. Operational revenue year to date is $87.5 million, which is greater than budget by $1.45 million. As a result, we've achieved 91.6% of our total revenue budgeted. Operational expenditure year to date is $79.7 million, which is greater than budget by $579,000. The two above points result in an operating surplus of $7.8 million versus budget expectations of $6.9 million. So we're in a favourable position of $872,000 than where we thought we'd be at this point. Total capital expenditure, including commitments, represents 85% of the total $61.1 million budget. And our end of cash balance is $65.1 million. A couple of key variances. Nothing has particularly changed since last month, but I will jump through them. Your rates and utilities revenue is less than budget by $392,000, largely as a result of reduced water consumption versus budget expectations. In addition to this, there's also been a higher percentage of ratepayers who have taken up the discount. So we've budgeted around 85% and actuals are coming in at about 86%. Our fees and charges revenue is largely in line with budget with a small variance of $4,000, again driven by the reduction of revenue in our waste transfer stations, but we have achieved more revenue within our development and building applications, which is offsetting that. Interest revenue, additional revenue versus budget of $996,000, so almost $1 million of interest, more than what we thought we'd budgeted for. This is as a result of proactive cash management, which has led to greater interest. Obviously, we are taking advantage of the large interest at the moment. Our operating grants and contributions greater than budget by $887,000 due to the DRFA funding received. So we don't budget for the DRFA funding, but we do recognise the revenue and expenditure, and they just offset. So there's very little impact on the bottom line there. So that's largely revenue. If I just jump into expenditure, as I mentioned in last month, our employee expenditure remains under budget by $387,000 due to some of the vacant positions within the organisation. However, this has been more than offset by our overspend within contract labour. A couple of reasons for the overspend in contract labour, which is $580,000, is as a result of waste management. Overspending contract labour as a result of the backfill of some of the critical roles to keep our transfer stations open and working effectively. But there is offset in the salaries and wages in the waste area. Our water and wastewater, again, overspend within the contract labour, but there are savings within water and wastewater's salaries and wages to offset this. But there are apprentices rates in the higher apprentice rates within the water and wastewater that we didn't budget for at the time, which will be picked up in next year's budget. Asset maintenance, again, under budget in salaries and wages, but have got extra overspend within their contract labour. Moving on to materials and services, over budget by $676,000. This is partly as a result of the DRFA expenditure on sand, gravel, and plant hire as a result of the ex-tropical cyclone Jasper and the subsequent flooding event. So that expenditure we're seeing there is offset by the grant revenue that I spoke about earlier. Commercial services are over budget in materials and services by $288,000, largely as a result of additional expenditure within the waste area. So again, we're seeing additional expenditure as a result of the need to build bundles as a result of the greater rain within the season, and reduced expenditure in the prior years means we're having to significantly increase our expenditure this year to catch up. Our Capital Works programme, as of the 30th of April 2024, is $34.4 million, or inclusive of commitments, it's $52.2 million of the total $61.1 million capital budget. So excluding commitments, we've spent 56% of the total budget, but including commitments, we've spent 85% of the total capital budget. And just a reminder, this 85% inclusive commitments does not include the Mission Beach revitalisation yet. So when that comes in, which is hopefully this month or early next month, we should see it into the 90%. Just the last piece to think about is our cash balance. So we're sat at $65.1 million. And our risks and opportunities not significantly changed. The only one I do want to highlight is the financial assistance grant revenue. Council is forecasting to receive the 2024-2025 portion of the financial assistance grant in 2023-24. However, looking at the federal budget, it's not forecast to be received this financial year and may fall into next financial year. LGFP and LGAQ are involved in trying to lobby on our behalf so we can get some clarity on when this will be received. But if we don't receive it, it will be a $6.1 million funding gap within our operating result this year.
Sorry, that's just not our council, is it?
That's every single council will be in the same position as us. So the recommendation is that council receive and note the monthly finance report for April 2024.
Anybody, any questions from the floor? No. So I know you and your team work very hard to ensure we reduce any financial risks and take up any opportunities to find efficiencies. So have we now mitigated the higher rates of pay required for our apprentices and trainees and the overspend on the contract labour?
Yep, so absolutely. We're, as you'll be well aware, we're moving through our budget process for 2024-25 now, and these things are captured. It's just at the time of when we were budgeting and when we've done the budget reviews, the information hasn't been completely clear, but our contract labour is being reviewed, and yeah.
And
through the chair, just to add to that, I guess in our waste areas we've had a number of unfortunate incidents with members of the public and their interactions with our council staff not being appropriate. So we have had to also go 2 up at some of those remote facilities. So that has significantly impacted that, where those facilities have typically been managed by a single staff member. We're now having, for safety reasons, to have 2 staff members at those remote sites.
further to that, we've got more restricted environmental processes that we have to follow at the moment too, so that actually adds to those waste costs as well, like things like leachate, and we've got to take all of that into consideration, and if we have those environmental stipulations put on us, then we've got to follow the procedures in order to correct that so we don't get the fines. So that's another part that we have
through
to
the chair, absolutely. And as the Tully landfill nears end of life, that's quite a constrained site now, so it's a lot harder to manoeuvre within that constrained site.
Yeah. So also to add to that, we were very happy to hear that we were successful in the funding for the shortfall of our Mission Beach project, which should help us out
next
in the coming months, and look forward to see that implemented, and I'm sure Councillor Chewy will be happy to see some dirt being thrown around. So yeah, thank you.
Mayor, through the chair, could we just acknowledge the federal government
absolutely.
and the $7.9 million out of the Growing Regions Fund towards that Mission Beach revitalisation project?
Definitely.
And through the chair, our officers that have facilitated, worked hard to achieve that goal.
That's right, yep. Thanks to all. We have a mover. Councillor Jessup, and somebody to second that. Councillor Chewy. All those in favour? Councillor Baines?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to 7.2. I've got these back to front. I've got 7.2. What have you got there? 7.2?
Yep.
Which is
Budget Review 3.
Budget Review 3?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, here to present the Budget Review 3 for 2023-2024. This is related to the report that you saw earlier, major projects, Tropical Cyclone Jasper, DRFA, Category B works. So the Budget Review 3 has been completed to include amendments to both capital and operational budgets as a result of the DRFA funding and related revenue recognised. And the expenditure. Proposed amendments are as below. So the operating deficit will remain stable at $551,000. However, we will be increasing revenue from $95.5 million to $96.6 million, which is an increase of $1.1 million, and increasing the expenditure by exactly the same amount. So going from $96.1 million to $97.2 million. Capital budget proposed an increase of $1.27 million from $61.1 million to $62.4 million. I'll just jump into a couple of reasons why. So our revenue in our operating area, increase in operating grants by $1.1 million as a result of additional funding related to the below programmes. So we've got $1 million for the Tropical Cyclone Jasper emergent works, so that's our sand, gravel, overtime, etc., and $132,000 for the Tropical Cyclone Jasper counter disaster operations. So we are just amending the budget to recognise the additional revenue, and then on the expenditure side, recognise the exact same expenditure. There is no change to the bottom line in our operating budget. Within our capital area, we are proposing an increase of $1.27 million to bring the budget to $62.4 million. This is a result of the disaster recovery funding arrangements included for expected expenditure for June 2024. So the $1.27 million is made up of $933,000 related to Reaper works and the $266,000 trigger point that you heard about earlier. So that will increase our capital budget. There are some minor allocations that we are also taking account for, but they won't affect the bottom line of the capital budget. And this is minor allocations between transport, drainage and recreational natural assets of $40,000 and reallocation of funds between the water and wastewater, $500,000 for water main projects in Innisfail and Nilita water schemes. Both of these reallocations have actually been approved previously but haven't been captured within the reports. They were missed, so we just have to put them through so that our budget can be updated formally. Again, very similar risks and opportunities as highlighted in the finance report, and just to draw your attention, there is Appendix A to J attached to this report, which covers all of the financial statements and the updated 10-year forecast as a result of the amendments made at BR3. So the recommendation is that Council receive the Budget Review 3 covering the period from the 1st of July 2023 to the 31st of March 2024, and adopt the amended budget for the 2023-2024 financial year as outlined in the attached appendices to this report.
Is there, I noted in there about the transport revaluation. Can we get an explanation on that so that the community understands what that involves at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's in the risks for both this report and the previous report is the transport revaluation. So every 5 years we reval an asset class, and this year it happens to be the transport area. We're currently working through that. We don't have a defined result at this point, but we have some indications that will be a significant increase in the valuation of our transport assets. This then has a direct impact on the amount of depreciation, which then flows through to our profit and loss. So this will be captured, whilst I've covered it as a risk in BR3 and the monthly finance report, this is actually a bigger risk for the 2024-25 year, which we're all discovering as we're going through the budget process now. Again, this won't be our council specific, so as councils are reviewing their transport revals, there will be significant increase across the board, and when we are not doing a full reval, we do a desktop reval, which just kind of means we're looking at a lot less detail and doing indexations instead of a full reval, which then means you should pick up some of that as well. So yes, big risk for next financial year, but not so much this financial year, just highlighting it.
So, Mr. CEO, what actually is a transport revaluation? Like, what does it include? What does it actually mean for us as council? What are they looking at?
We're revaluing through the chair all of our transport assets, so transport assets that or assets that are involved with our transport network. So we look at the unit rates that are required and put a value onto those transport assets that's reflective of current unit rates. So as we've seen across probably all of Australia at the moment, there's been significant price escalation due to material costs, due to labour costs, due to a number of external factors. So it's taking into account the impact of those, and with that valuation, putting a new valuation on what our transport asset network is worth. The impact of that on council is that we actually depreciate, and we fund the depreciation from that. So a significant increase in the value of our transport asset network means that depreciation amount will increase significantly as well, and we fund that depreciation through our operating budget, and that's the impact that Ms. Peters is highlighting there.
Are they looking at dirt, footpaths? What's included in that? What's in that transport asset? What is it?
So,
I got Mr. Goodman coming up too. Sorry, I know we all know what it is, but it's very important for others to understand the importance of it all. Yeah.
Through the chair, the major asset classes in there are the formation. So yes, the dirt that the roads are built on, the gravel that goes into the running surface or the pavement for a sealed road, the seals itself, either the sprayed seal or asphalt, curb and channel, excuse me, on the particularly in our urban areas, footpaths, bridges, culverts. I should provide a definition between culverts and stormwater. So culverts are the pipes that run under the road not in the urban areas, and we include the pipes and pits in our urban areas in our stormwater asset class. So you can get down into signs, pretty much everything that's assisting in the transport in our region. It accounts for more than 50% of our total asset base.
No, I just think it's very important for them to actually understand that this is actually very huge. It's not just a little bit. So how often does this get done?
Through the chair, as was provided previously, there's a formal process for all of our asset classes every 5 years. We do that on a rolling basis, so we don't do them all at the same time, but this is the year that the transport is due.
Councillor Jessup.
Yeah, thank you. When they get valued, do they take into consideration the damage that's been done to that as well? Or is it just when they're okay, they get valued and that's the amount?
Happy for me to take that? Yeah, through the chair. The what we're valuing is replacement cost. So that's the main part of the valuation, is how much would it not so. So we'll do two things. One is a condition now, which will assist us in prediction of when that does need to be replaced. But in terms of the revaluation itself, they're more focusing on when this does need to be replaced, how much will it cost to replace it to the same standard.
Thank you. Good.
So when we talk about prices going up, so how do you predict what the prices are going to be and the cost to actually replace it if it's not due to be replaced, or it looks like it'd have another 5 years? Or how do you work out that prices?
I'm through the chair. It is current replacement cost. That's what we're costing, or the valuers are assisting us in that. Is the that is the process, is determining the current replacement cost, which is if we had to go and replace it today or this year, what do we expect that would cost us?
Through the chair, I don't know if Ms. Peters can expand. You talked about the indexation, and that is, I guess, mitigating some of the risk when we do come to evaluation after 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So as part of our asset accounting policy, let's put that in that one. Within our asset accounting policies, I'll say, I don't know which one it is specifically, we do have we do an indexation on all the other asset classes that we're not doing the big reval on. So if we identify that we believe the value has increased by greater than 5%, this is then when we apply that indexation rate. So when we're talking through the budget this financial year, there are certain asset classes that we will apply an indexation to, and there'll be certain asset classes that we won't apply it this year, but cumulatively, so next year, if it's 3% this year and 3% next year, we'll add that together and then apply that indexation again. So that just, it hopes to reduce the impact of when we do a full revaluation exercise. Unfortunately, with the transport revaluation, our indexations have been slightly lower than what we probably should have done, but we've gone on the advice of third party. So,
anybody else? So I did on page 4, Appendix D. I can see payment for property, plant, and equipment doubles from 32 in 2023 to 62 in 2024. Just not sure what that is.
Thank you for reading the appendices so digitately. I will be completely honest, off the top of my head, I don't know what it is, but I'll take it on notice and get back to you.
Okay,
Sorry,
no
I've got
worries.
On the
Appendix
statement
D,
of cash
yeah.
flows.
On page 4.
Yep.
It's got, here, I'll show you.
I've got it up if you like, but
Yep.
which...
It's PP, I think.
Plant, property, payment for property, plant and equipment, which goes from 32 in 2023 to 62 in 2024.
Budget 2024.
Pretty sure I wrote it right.
I'm sure you did.
We might take that on notice through the
Yeah,
chair and we'll
that's
come
all
back
right.
to you.
Sorry, I should have done.
No, that's great that you've reviewed them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
then we'll move on to 7.3. Register of Fees and Charges 2024-2025. Oh, did we move? Sorry.
I'm happy to move that.
Thanks, Councillor Baines. Sorry about that. And we have a seconder, Councillor Reid. All those in favour? Everyone in favour? Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Peters.
So the purpose of this report is to present for council's consideration the proposed 2024-2025 register of fees and charges, including cost recovery fees and charges. So the fees and charges register has been reviewed and subsequently amended as part of council's 2024-2025 annual budget process. Fees and charges approximately deliver $4 million of revenue to council, so it's not insignificant. And fees and charges are used to deliver services and activities to the community of the Cassowary Coast Regional Council in accordance with the adopted corporate and operational plans. So council officers have reviewed the fees and charges in advance to adopting the 2024-2025 annual budget, which is proposed for next month. There are 735 fees and charges in total, with 116 remaining unchanged or have actually reduced in value. A total of 47 fees have been discontinued and 18 new fees have been added. The majority of fees and charges have had a 4.3% increase applied, with reference to the Consumer Price Index issued by the Australian Bureau of Statistics from December 2022 to December 2023. Where council officers have deemed CPI not to be appropriate, a cost recovery methodology has been applied. So in this report, I'm just going to give a quick summary of some of the major changes within the report. So within the waste area, waste disposal, domestic dry and wet waste. So as you're all aware, council charges for domestic waste, including any waste that householders place in their general waste bins. The proposal is that there will be a small increase within each of the different sizes of the domestic waste disposal. So small, which is up to half a metre cubed, about a car boot, 2 wheelie bins or half a trailer size of $10. The medium is between the half a cubic metre and 2 cubic metres, which a van, a ute or a full trailer is $19, and a large is between 2 metres and 4 metres is $24. Any domestic quantities greater than 4 metre cubed will be charged at a commercial fee. Where residents and ratepayers separate your recycled materials, for example, cardboard, glass, cans, etc., from the wet waste presented at the council waste management facilities, the recycled material will remain free of charge.
So very important that is.
Yep. Green waste. So all your domestic green waste disposed at the transfer stations, so your grass clippings, tree, bush, shrub trimmings, branches and other similar material used resulting from gardening, landscaping or maintenance will also remain free of charge. There are a couple of new fees in the miscellaneous waste area for refrigerators, freezers and air conditioners and solar panels. So these fees have been added to help cost recover the degassing and disposal that council have. Mulch fees, mulch loading fees have also been increased by 35% from $5.90 to $8 to ensure council is able to cost recover the officer's time in loading the mulch and the cost associated with the machinery used.
But you can still shovel it yourself if you wish, like I did.
You absolutely can, yes.
Whatever you want to do.
Moving on to libraries. So printing at the libraries remains free of charge for eligible concession holders. Just to highlight, and this is for personal use only, and it's for 50 pages per day. Animal management in your dog registration. Annual DSEX dog registration has had a below CPI increase of 2.94%, resulting in a $35 annual charge, and the 50% discount for pensioner concession card holders remains. However, there has been a greater increase for the registration of entire dogs by 11.11%, resulting in a $150 annual charge to act as an incentive for owners to DSEX their dogs. Moving on to the release and impounded dogs and cats. Our initial release fee for microchipped or registered dogs remains free. The release fee for initial release of unregistered or unmicrochipped cats and the second release has increased in line with CPI. However, the third and subsequent releases has increased by almost 29% to $275 to again act as a deterrent to owners. Release of impounded stock charges have been modified to be charged at the cost incurred at the time of the impoundment to ensure that council again is cost recovering. Moving into our local laws, so stationary vending, which is whole fruit and vegetables produced solely from the adjacent farm. The application and permit fee has increased from $142 to $270, which is a 90% increase, to ensure council is able to cover the total cost of the application and the permit renewal. So that's to cover some of the officers' time. It takes a significant amount of time. The alteration or improvement to local government areas and roads, which includes installing, changing, damaging or removing structures such as grids, gates, hoarding or scaffolding, and planting, clearing and damaging trees or vegetation has increased from $168 to $350, which is a 108% increase, again to ensure council is better able to cost recover their expenditure. Local law number 6, which covers your bathing reserves and foreshores, a fee has been introduced for the setting apart of a reserve or foreshore for exclusive use for life-saving training, which will be $250. So that is a new fee. But just highlighting it is for exclusive use only. Local law number 10, which covers our advertising devices, the fee for initial application and permit has increased from $56.50, and there is a small typo in this report, it's to $320, not $263 as in the report, to allow council to cost recover officers' time in reviewing applications. Moving on to open space operations and our pig traps. So currently council only has a refundable bond charge for our pig traps. However, council has experienced pig traps being rented out for extensive periods of time. Therefore, council has moved to charging quarterly hire rates to ensure that these traps can be utilised by different users across the whole region. The quarterly hire charge is $130, and then council have also introduced a delivery fee of $44 to cost recover time and the vehicle. Hall hire, so cleaning, a fee has been established to cover the cost of any additional cleaning or repairs to damage required from hall hire. And then in the Innisfail Shire Hall, a bond and key deposit and daily hire have been established, to just ensure that we are covered for all those areas. Just to note, there is I think it's about a 50-page document attached to this report which covers all the fees and charges that I've just mentioned, in addition to the other 735 fees. So the recommendation is that Council adopt the Register of Fees and Charges for 2024-2025, and this will become effective from the 1st of July 2024.
Councillor Chewy?
Thank you. Through the chair, Ms Hannah, could you just explain, you did kind of touch on exclusivity for the beach. Could you just give that a little more clarification, and who was actually eligible? If I wanted to have a party, am I able to block the beach off for a certain amount of
So
time?
that's local law number 6, bathing, reserves and foreshores. So that is a fee introduced for the exclusive use of life-saving training. So that's if they want to block it off for an event, it just then means that they have exclusive use of that area of the beach.
Any other questions? No? Somebody want to move the motion?
Through the chair, I know, just through you, I know there were some queries around mattresses, particularly in our fees and charges at our briefing session. In brackets, it does touch on dry and clean. That's the aspiration of officers, for them to be received dry and clean, but if they are received, that charge for mattresses for clarity would still be used. So it doesn't mean that if it's not dry and clean, we'd be charging the domestic charge based on the size of those mattresses. So just for clarity, the mattresses would be charged at the rate that's in the fees and charges, but it's council officers' aspiration for those to come in dry and clean, and we would then be able to recycle those through Endeavour.
Yeah, all right, no problem. Okay, so that's moved by Councillor Chewy. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Pervin, second by Councillor Pervin. All in favour? Councillor Baines?
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 7.4. Sole, specialised or confidential nature suppliers, service supplier list 2024. We have Ms. Stravasky.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, Council. Sole Specialised or Confidential Nature Services Supplier List 2024. The purpose of this report is to recommend a list of suppliers that Council may enter an arrangement without first inviting written quotes or tenders. Section 235 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 provides that a local government may enter into a medium-sized contractual arrangement or large-sized contractual arrangement without first inviting written quotes or tenders if A, the local government resolves it is satisfied that there is only one supplier who is reasonably available, or B, the local government resolves that because of the specialised or confidential nature of the services that are sought, it would be impractical or disadvantageous for the local government to invite quotes or tenders. The intent of the above legislative provision is to promote administrative and practical efficiency by allowing council officers to raise purchase requisitions for goods and services where there is only one supplier or the goods and services are of a specialised or confidential nature, and it would be impractical or disadvantageous for the local government to invite quotes or tenders. The procurement team has worked with relevant stakeholders and divisions within council to develop and coordinate the proposed sole or confidential nature services supplier list for 24-25 to ensure the intent and spirit of the legislative provision is adhered, particularly to ensuring value for money and competition while maintaining administrative efficiency and removing red tape. The recommendation is that Council resolve in accordance with Section 235A and 235B of the Local Government Regulation 2012 that it is satisfied that the suppliers listed are sole suppliers and or suppliers of specialised or confidential nature services, and resolve to publish this list and make publicly available.
Thank you. Councillor Chewy.
Thank you. Through the chair. Well done for the report, and I'm very supportive of recommendation 2. I believe this is a new recommendation.
Yes, so previously we have not made these details publicly available. Our recommendation is that we are open and transparent with our community and our suppliers, and that we make this list publicly available. There are 86 suppliers on that list.
So further that, should somebody think that they're eligible, what should they do?
They can contact the procurement team. So if any supplier out there has any questions in relation to this list, or particularly if they believe they also could provide these services and goods and services that we're saying are deemed as sole supplier, then please make yourself known. We are really happy to work with any suppliers. Sometimes we don't have all the information, and there could be new suppliers entering in the market as well, starting out business. So please do make yourself known to the procurement team, who will then liaise with you and provide you further advice.
Very good, thank you. We have a mover. Councillor Chewy's moved it. Councillor Jessup seconds. We all in favour? Councillor Baines?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Go on to 7.5. Disaster Recovery Funding Arrangements, Local Recovery and Resilience Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. This report provides an update and details 10 projects recommended to Council for submission to access the exceptional circumstances of the DRFA Category D Local Recovery and Resilience Grant. Attachment 1 provides details of those 10 projects that have been recommended to Council. This specific funding was developed to support severely impacted eligible local government areas following Tropical Cyclone Jasper 13 to 28th of December 2023, and have made available to 9 affected councils, capped at $1 million per council. The funding for councils is to address economic, social and community recovery needs and support future resilience measures. The recommendation is that Council approve the list of projects in Attachment 1 for submission to access the DRFA Cat D Local Recovery and Resilience Grant funding. And also please note that the Chief Executive Officer received formal notification from Queensland Reconstruction Authority, the QRA, on 24th of April 24, approving a grant advance of $500,000 excluding GST under this particular fund. So we already have $500,000 and the Infrastructure Services team is working to ensure that we're able to obtain a further $500,000 as eligible under this particular funding.
So once we've submitted this, how long do you think it might, or how long's a piece of string, but how long do you think it might take before we can see any of the proposed projects started, or have we actually started some of those?
I believe that some we actually have. We certainly have employed an officer who's in the Economic Development, Recovery and Resilience Office is already in place, so they are working away with business, so that has already been initiated. On the other things, there is substantial planning that is required. If you look at the particular list as well, we have at the back in your attachments, there is some estimated start dates and estimated end dates for those projects. I would hazard a caution a little bit like Mr. Goodman did earlier on. We don't want to undertake the work when we haven't already received the funding to agree to those. So we really want to make sure that we work with the QRA closely, that they agree that those projects are eligible. But certainly we have that advance, and we'll keep you updated in the progress of this.
And if we're not successful in that next lot, is there other sources of funding that we could look to cover all of the projects on the list?
Clearly we would need to look at our budget.
Okay.
And if some of those projects are deemed by council to be necessary and essential, then we would need to look within our budget to fund those projects. But at this stage, we are pretty confident that the list that we've presented to council, we would be able to have approved, but we'll come back to council if any of those are declined. And so therefore we could substitute those projects for perhaps other projects, so that we don't actually miss out on any of the million that we actually get back.
So through your chair, it's not a competitive round for that $1 million. That $1 million is allocated to council. It's just identifying projects that align with the eligibility criteria. I did want to highlight with the economic development space, officers in our teams at the moment are lobbying and advocating on behalf of industry at the moment to extend the deadline for some of the QRIDA funding and also some of the other financial assistance that's available. So industry's coming to us at the moment and saying the deadline of 28th of June is too soon. So council advocating on behalf of industry at the moment to push that deadline out towards the end of July. End of the new deadline to 28 June 2025. So, and a 12-month extension. So we'll continue to advocate through those roles, and I guess that's the importance of some of this economic recovery. But there's a number of initiatives in there that I've got no doubt will bring some peace of mind to some of our residents. The new flood modelling that's in there, the flash flood sensors. So as we all aware, it wasn't riverine flooding that caused most of the damage in our region, it was flash flooding. These sensors would allow community members to sign up and receive text messages when flash flooding is identified in some of those areas. And I think as most people are keen to see also some funding there to allocate towards works that can be undertaken on private property, and that's where the Cat D funding really does differ from the funding that we're seeking. And Mr. Goodman talked about earlier through Cat B. So this funding would allow some of those drainage networks that do run into private property to be looked at through an external party as well. So some good news there, hopefully, for the community.
So once we install those sensors, will we put some communications out to people in those particular regions for them to actually sign up to get those SMS messages, or how does that work?
Yeah, look, through the chair, absolutely. We'd be going out to community, and it would be an opt-in process. We can push out messaging from phone numbers that we currently have for emergency situations, but ideally this process would see us develop a network of mobile numbers that are associated with the relevant flood sensors.
Thanks. Any other questions? Someone like to move the motion? Moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor Pervin. All in favour? Councillor Baines?
Yes.
Here. Thank you. We will move on to 7.6, Procurement Policy Review, Procurement Review Board.
In accordance with Council's policy framework, regular reviewing of Council policy is required to ensure good governance and compliance with legislation and standards. Section 198 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 provides that Council must prepare and adopt a policy about procurement. It must include details of the principles, including sound contracting principles, that the local government will apply in the financial year for purchasing goods and services, and that the policy must be reviewed annually. The purpose of this report is to recommend to Council a revised procurement policy that includes 1. The implementation of a procurement review board, and 2. Introduction of an annual forward procurement plan. The above amendments to the policy reflect Council's commitment to enhance strategic oversight and accountability of our procurement activity and expenditure, raise procurement capability and standardise our approach, facilitate increased value for money outcomes, and further strengthen our commitment to local suppliers through improved transparency and visibility of the Council opportunities. The revised policy has been developed after consultation with internal staff and review of best practice in other councils. The updated procurement policy with track changes is provided in Attachment 1, and the Procurement Review Board terms of reference is outlined in Attachment 2. The recommendation is that Council approve the implementation of a Procurement Review Board and the introduction of an annual forward procurement plan as outlined in the updated Procurement Policy Attachment 1. Just a little bit of further information about the terms of reference of the Procurement Review Board. As you'll see, we will meet monthly. We will be reviewing all procurement plans for expenditure above 200,000K. We will also be reviewing the evaluation recommendations of expenditure above that amount as well. It provides also mechanisms should suppliers have a complaint that they wish to raise with Council as well. It will go to that board, not necessarily to individuals to review. So it also provides that mechanism for suppliers to have a process if they wish to raise any matters, and we will report accordingly on the outcomes of the board.
I think this is fabulous. This reduces our risk substantially, not only financially, but as you said, with complaints and
and it means it doesn't fall on one individual. It's a board decision, and therefore we mitigate those risks. Absolutely. In terms of the annual forward procurement plan, we see this as a real benefit to local suppliers. We will be bringing this back very shortly in the next 1 or 2 council meetings, providing Council with that list of procurements that will be undertaking in the next 12 to 24 months. We'll also be using that list to have a number of doing business with Council forums, that suppliers are aware of the upcoming opportunities. We'll be providing them with further information and support in terms of how to put quality bids and assisting them with that information. Sometimes it's not the easiest thing navigating yourself around, any government or council tender processes. So this will form part of that suite of documents.
Great. Any further questions? We'll have a mover.
So moved.
Councillor Baines, thank you, and Councillor Purven seconded it. All those in favour? We're all in favour, are we? Yes, we're all in favour. Thank you. Okay, we move on to 7.7, Councillor Remuneration 24-25, presented by Mr Gruffin.
Through you, Chair, on the 1st of December 2023, the Local Government Remuneration Commission concluded its determination of the levels of remuneration for mayors, deputy mayors and councillors of local governments as required by Section 177C of the Local Government Act and Section 241 to 247 of the Local Government Regs. In establishing council categories, the Commission considered the size, geographical location, environmental terrain of local government areas. They also considered the population of local government areas, including areas' demographics, the spread of population serviced by the local government, and the extent of the services the local government provided, and any other matters relevant to the effectiveness, efficiency and sustainability of a local government. So this process saw Cassowary Coast Regional Council categorised as a Category B2 council. So similar councils, Charters Towers, Scenic Rim, South Burnett, the Tablelands Regional Council and Southern Downs. Following a comprehensive review in 2023, the new set of council remuneration categories has been developed and implemented from 1 July 2024. The Commission has established maximum remuneration levels for Queensland mayors, deputy mayors and councillors for each of the new council remuneration categories. In most cases, maximum remuneration levels increased by 3 to 5%. In making this determination, they considered the challenging and unstable inflationary environment that we've got there, but they also considered maintaining financially sustainable and fiscally responsible wage growth in this consideration. There is a recommendation there, and that's that this council resolves to adopt the remuneration schedule as determined by the Local Government Remuneration and Discipline Tribunal in accordance with Section 244 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 from 1 July 2024. And I will add to that we'll also approve the payment of superannuation contributions for councillors as a rate of 12% of the base remuneration. And the officer's recommendation at 3, which is not on the agenda there, is approve the provision of a fully maintained council-owned motor vehicle of appropriate standard for the Mayor's use on council business and for private purposes. There's a recommendation there, Mayor.
Do we have a seconder on the recommendation?
Need a mover first.
Do you want to move it? Oh, sorry, move it. Councillor Jasper. Anybody to second the motion? Councillor Purven. Those in favour?
Through the chair, Mr CEO, category B2, has that category changed at all?
Sorry, so the categories have been reviewed. So council's now in what they term in category B2, but we're still in a similar category with similar local governments. So typically our local government was looked at based on population only. They're now looking at a number of different factors when they're categorising councils, including demographic and also the size of local governments to better consider some of the constraints.
I think before it was 1, 2, 3, 4, and now it's A, B, C. Yeah.
Still coming down the stairs.
Vote on that, the recommendation. Yes. So we've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8, assets sustainability. Facility use agreement, Cardwell Pickleball Club Incorporated, will be presented by Mr Valente. Thank you.
Good morning, thank you. The purpose of the report is to consider a request from the Cardwell District Pickleball Club to renew their facility use agreement at the sports ground at Cardwell, which is due to expire on 30 June. The club were recently incorporated in 2021. At that time, Council granted them a 3-year facility use agreement over the former unused Cardwell tennis courts. Since 2021, the club successfully grew and has demonstrated its sustainability and its community benefit with good membership and good utilisation of the facility. The club also continues to make the courts available for tennis players in the region if they wish. The club has requested a renewal of their facility use agreement to ensure their continued right to occupy the site and, of course, to help them apply for future grants to improve the site. The club has provided all necessary data on governance, insurance, financial reports and membership to support their request for a renewed agreement. That data has been favourably assessed against Council's community use of assets policy. The club has also agreed to take ownership and responsibility for the assets in the facility in line with Council's asset rationalisation principles. This will result in a depreciation saving to Council of $6,800 per annum. The grant of the new facility use agreement is not a disposal of an interest in the land and therefore does not require a council resolution. However, the transfer of the improvements on the land to the club under the agreement is a disposal requiring a council resolution to apply the exception contained in the local government regulation. It's therefore recommended that council apply the exception contained in section 2361B2 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 to grant a facility use agreement to Cardwell and District Pickleball Club as a community organisation to contain the following key terms. The facility is the old courts at corner of Tully and St Albans Street, Cardwell. The term of the new agreement is for 3 years from 1 July 2024. The fee is $1. There are no outgoings payable. There is no water, sewerage, etc. connected to that site. The permitted use will be pickleball courts and associated ancillary uses, and council will transfer ownership to the user of all its right, title and interest in the improvements on the land, being courts and fencing, etc. Recommendation 2 is to authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute the facility use agreement on behalf of council. Recommendation 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to take all necessary steps to ensure ongoing compliance with all terms and conditions of that facility use agreement.
Thank you. Does anybody want to talk to it? Somebody want to move it? Councillor Reid moved it. Any seconder? Councillor Chewy? All those in favour? Councillor Baines? Yep, all in favour, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to item 9, planning services, 9.1, and this will be presented by Mr Horton, OPW 24/0001, operational works, advertising device on land described as, oh, pitched your job, is that your job to read that out? Sorry. Continue
Yes,
on.
Madam Mayor.
Sorry.
Morning, Council. Still is morning. Item 9.1, it's operational works for advertising device, freestanding advertising device. Situated at Lot 3 on I-28160, situated 154 Edith Street, Innisfail. You'll note that that's Furniture World on the highway in Innisfail. So the development is proposed to install a new double-sided advertising device on the site. The site will be freestanding on a monopole with the sign faces to be 6 by 3 metres. So pretty standard 6 by 3. You'll see a lot of them on the highway. This type of sign you'll see at Portsmouth on the way in and Cairns on the right-hand side near the waste facility just past there. So and pretty much on that angle, 45 angle facing both ways, so you can see it north and southbound. The advertising device will be, the frame will start at 6.5 metres above the ground level. That's to get up past the parapet over the roof line of Furniture World and finish at an overall height of 10 metres. The development application was code accessible and therefore didn't require public notification. And usually under the delegations of council, a lot of the code development applications are decided prior to coming to council. However, this is a substantial change to the way signage is done within our region, from the standard billboard type sign to electronic, and multiple roles of of commercial advertising going through. The application didn't trigger referral to SARA as a department. However, council always seeks third-party advice from the Department of Transport and Main Roads, given the site adjoins the Bruce Highway. The department outlines that the restriction notice area is defined area outside the road reserve on the state control road. So they look at the intersection and the involvement of how that intersection involves with the signage, how much distance they need, and whether that's going to cause an issue to passing traffic and drivers having accidents and so forth. In the restriction notice area, the department can provide comment regarding the proposed device location. However, the council is the decision maker of the application. The proposed device would be partially located. It's only small within that area, for that area of Edith Street to Charles Street intersection. Although the proposed sign is partially located within the restriction notice area, the applicant's consultants have submitted that the device would not pose a significant risk because of the low-speed urban environment in that area. We're down to 60 k's. There's already a well-established precedent of roadside advertising in the adjacent road network, and suggest drivers would already be familiar with the roadside advertising on that area. The sign itself wouldn't obstruct sight lines and traffic signals or signage. We know where our intersections are. We know where our lighting intersections are too, up past the Commonwealth, so it wouldn't impact on that component. And the adjacent road network has a favourable crash history, as we can see. DTMR can require this sign to be removed or modified if it is considered to create a danger to traffic. However, that can only be determined when operational, so they do it at the end. The application's always also been conditioned, I should say, to meet our advertising devices code of the scheme, and also the relevant local laws and other statutory legislation within that condition. That's in condition 3 of the application, council. The application is generally consistent with the requirements of the scheme, and therefore the proposed application for operational works advertising device on land situated at 154 Edith Street is recommended for approval. Council, happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Chewy.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this is Mr. Horton or the CEO through the chair. In regard to the actual advertisements that are going on there, it obviously has to be for commercial. It can't be a political statement or things like that. I mean, do we have any control over what is advertised on the board?
Through the chair, that's why we threw that condition 3 in, to make sure that that's controlled. But Paradise Signs have got, well endeavoured requirements around what they do. You can see that along the road, network right down to Cardwell. A lot of those signs are Paradise Signs. There's a couple of other companies involved there too, but generally. But that's why we put in condition 3 that we can take that action if needed through the local law, council.
Are there any other questions? It's moved by Councillor McLeod. So, given this is do you think this is the first of one of these that we have in our area, other than the ones that are on the highway that Main Roads have put up?
Through the chair, this is the first of this kind. Yeah, that we have. It's pretty considerable. Yeah. I'd probably say that there might be a few more moving forward in different locations. I suppose you still got to have your power and your network and those types of things. So, middle of maybe Ellerbeck down that Kennedy way, you mightn't have that connectivity, to be able to do it at this stage on the highway. But in certain locations, I'd say you would. And you can see a lot of that in Cairns and Townsville moving forward.
So they'd all have to be assessed individually?
Through the chair, definitely. They've got to be assessed to a criteria, and there's certain criteria around distances between these types of signs and so forth. So, and it's been done, and you can tell why you do that. You can go back to the example of Aerodrome Road and Maroochydore years ago, where if you drove along that strip, there was signage everywhere, third-party signage all over the place, and there's a lot of steps taken to improve that type of aspect.
Okay, thank you. Would someone like to second the motion? Councillor Purban, seconded. All those in favour, Councillor Baines? Thank you, carried. 9.2.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. It's a reduction in infrastructure charges relating to RAL 24/0006. It's a reconfiguration of one lot into 4 lots, which we did earlier in the year, subject to conditions on the 4th of March 2024. So this is situated at 50 to 52 Seafarer Street at South Mission Beach. The request is for 100% reduction, Council. The amount of infrastructure charges that were issued on the development was $88,018.65. The site's within the township zone, Greater Mission Beach Residential Choice Precinct, as designated by the Cassowary Coast Regional Council. As you can see, one of the blocks has got a duplex on it that remains on one of the titles. Which is what you're chasing in that area, as well as residential dwellings. The proposed development creates 3 new residential blocks for future residential development. Remaining block has that units, as I said. Proposed lots will be serviced by reticulated water, sewerage, telecommunication, electricity from McGilvery Street and Kennedy Esplanade. The proposed development, Council, provides economic benefits to the Mission Beach area and wider Cassowary Coast community, and significant employment opportunities during the construction phase. In addition to this, the proposed development provides for additional residents, which will support a number of businesses in the area. The proposed development complies with all the criteria, Council, therefore it's recommended for approval for 100% reduction. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? No. Someone happy to move it? Councillor Pervin, seconded by Councillor Reid. All those in favour, Councillor Baines?
Aye.
Thank you. Go to 9.3.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Through the Chair, MCU 240009, material change of use for marine industry and caretakers accommodation on land described as Lot 1 on SP 221610, Commercial Drive, Cardwell, within the Port Hinchinbrook precinct, right next door to our current boat ramp and car park facility within that precinct area. The application proposed development seeks to establish a marine industry and that caretaker on the site. The marine industry involves a 144 square metre enclosed boat shed, which will include space for up to 4 vessels. It also has an uncovered gravel area, which is around approximately 1,500 squares to have a set down of boats and so forth. This outdoor area will include landscaping and open space. There's also an area to allow for future expansion of that shed. Proposed caretaker's accommodation will establish towards the rear of the site, which is really fronting the canal, which is the most valuable spot on the property, and established towards it's 3 bedrooms, Council, I should say. Proposed development also includes a future stage, being the proposed boat ramp and pontoon. That would be under an additional application, Council, that has a prescribed tidal works application, which gets called up through the Coastal Management Act. Coastal thing used to be under the Harbours Act years ago. Future rock protection is proposed to benefit the proposed caretaker's accommodation, so that it falls away at the front a little bit there, as you can see next to the ramp when you're down there on site. So that rock protection will be put in there behind the additional revetment wall there. Development application was impact accessible and therefore required public notification. There was no submissions, Council. The proposed development has been conditioned to provide adequate landscaping treatments, noise, odour, attenuation, waste storage and so forth as the general conditions. The application doesn't trigger referral to the department to SARA Council for this type of application. It's too far from the intersection with the main road and QT, so it didn't trigger that component. The application, I'll go into it a little bit, Council, and just discuss Port Hinchinbrook and the history around it. Port Hinchinbrook's got continuing approvals in the schedule of the planning scheme. They are listed there, which includes the plan of development, which is the boat haven approval, which we're currently triggers under this application, and you also got the original rezoning of Port Hinchinbrook. Part of that, you also got the deed and certain other components that works out services and networks and so forth that were had to be installed in the development originally. As this falls under the Boathaven, there was permitted uses. This falls in precinct 3 of that Boathaven plan of development, which in that area only allows for creek diversion, public boat ramp, public car park trailers. As we can see, they're already on the ground. A base for emergency services, Coast Guard, Water Police. What I understand and what was touted years ago from the history was that the Coast Guard was meant to go on this site, but as it was sold off freehold and acquired by the current owner. It also had Aquatic Sports Club could be there, and access to the resort was always as part of the precinct, so each precinct was allowed back into the resort area to go through the private network and use the facilities at Front Street and the restaurant and go to those areas. In 2008, there was an approval given to move this to Precinct 4, which allows for these types of uses, a dwelling, multiple dwelling, industry type frontage where you could have an industry boat type use on the front with a dwelling on the rear. Had all those components. That application required conditional changes as part of the approval. Those conditional changes never happened, so the application lapsed. Therefore, that 2008 plan of development does not exist, and it diverted back to the original plan of development and placed this property in Precinct 3. Because it doesn't comply with those permitted uses that I outlined, under the scheme it triggers that it goes straight directly to an impact assessable application. That's why it's proceeded in the way it has, and that's why it had public notification. As we know, we have nothing there with the thing. The main conditions on it, Council, Condition 3, the caretaker's accommodation, we insist that it's Q100 plus 300 mil freeboard. The storage sheds are at Q100 level. The vehicle access comes off Commercial Drive. You can see there's a set down rigging area on either side of the driveway in the plans. However, Council, it's recommended for approval. I shouldn't say refusal, should I? Recommended for approval. Subject to reasonable and relevant conditions. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Has anybody got any further questions to that? Somebody, Councillor Reid?
Happy to move. Second.
Oh, yeah, through the chair. Yeah. It's only going to hold 4 boats.
Through the chair, there's a lot of open areas, 1,500 squares there to have set down area for other boats, so that's just enclosed.
Just in storage.
Yeah,
okay.
So it'll still have boat storage outside of that as well.
Well, I think it's a good idea to probably help with the other marine facilities business, the Hinchinbrook Marine, the shipyard.
Thank you, Councillor Baines. You've moved the motion, have you?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Second by Councillor Reid. All those in favour? All in favour? Thank you.
Can I just say a few words before I go? Through the chair, Council, I just want to say a few words. Yesterday we had the funeral of Brian Horton. Horton, his last name. He used to work with us at Council. Up until 2019, he moved back to Townsville and took up a strategic planning role down there. He passed away last week. From prostate cancer at 46, so I just wanted to pass on his condolences to his family. Great person, and really love what he did for us and the community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we move on to item 10, general business.
Chair, with your indulgence.
Absolutely, go
Madam
for
Chair,
it. Yes, Councillor Baines.
I have to extend my apologies and go to my meeting if that's all right. So thank you for allowing me to dial in today, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Do notate that. Thank you. Has anybody got any general business? Through Trudy. Sorry, Councillor Chewy.
Thank you. You know I've always got something to say, Mayor. Just a question first to the CEO. Could we please have an update on the status of the Mission Beach Medical Centre? Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, the Mission Beach Medical Centre, the lease is in place and has been signed by the landlord. Commencement date was the 1st of the 3rd, 2024, with 3 months rent free, up to 31st of the 5th, 2024. So council's paid 1 month up front and seen no further expenditure from council in this financial year. I've got a window of 12 months to terminate if the centre doesn't work, as we're aware. There's been an inspection undertaken with a prospective operator and council officers. There's some minor works that we're working through at the moment, and seeking to see whether some of those minor works can be undertaken by the landlord. The other update there is council has been engaging with North Queensland Primary Health Network for some time, advocating for better services in our region. The federal government have identified some thin markets funding, so council has been successful in attracting some of that thin markets funding. So to date, we've been approved for lease costs, operational costs, both for Cardwell and for the Mission Beach Medical Centre. But stage 2 of that funding is really engaging with the potential operator. So there's been some conversations to date with NQPHN and the potential operator to understand what that opportunity is. So the thin markets funding is really looking outside of the way that the Commonwealth have typically looked at supporting private practice, to look at areas like Mission Beach, which is a thin market and has been so since the TriStar Medical Centre closed some 3.5 years ago. So still working, de-risking the process. Everything's in place at the moment. There's a few quotes still on some of the ICT equipment in there that they're going through, and like I said, getting a clearer perspective of what that the repair and maintenance will look like to get that ready. But the facility is mostly ready to go, and I think for the potential operator, it's really about now just understanding what that stage 2 of thin markets funding will look like and how that could de-risk a potential operator stepping into that space. So we are continuing to get closer to a point.
But we don't actually have a date.
Absolutely no date that I'm willing to put out there today.
Thank you. Just a couple more things, if I may. Appreciate everybody wearing purple today. May is the month of Domestic and Family Violence Awareness Month. A lot of the shops have decorated up. Appreciate the effort that people have made to acknowledge this, and it's a crisis in our community everywhere at the moment. Thanks to our amazing people at the Tully and Innisfail support centres and our police service, our ambulance service, who have to deal face to face with the effects of this crisis that we're facing. If you or a family member or someone you know is affected by domestic or family violence, please phone 1-800-RESPECT or go to your emergency services as best you can. I don't know where we will end up, but it's a very sad situation. So just thank you to all who have taken the time to acknowledge. Also like to remind everybody that the Tully 100 event, thank goodness, is getting closer. Very excited. It starts this Friday at the showgrounds. There's a book fair and an author talk if you'd like to go along. There's lots of other events, fashion parade, cemetery tours, Read to Me Day, the street parade, civic function. It's getting closer. It's all starting to take place. We know there's a lot of people coming. There is a hub in town where you can go. We've got stubby coolers, souvenir stubby coolers and different items there if people want to buy as a souvenir. My hat goes off to all those that have put their hand up to make this event happen. Some people are working on 2 or 3 events, so they are very busy, and I just hope that everybody in the room and in the audience and in Tully and surrounding district Cassowary Coast will come and support at least one of the events. It'll be fun. It'll be a great fun. The civics function is on following the street parade at the school, and the school itself goes on to celebrate its centenary as well. So great time to catch up with old friends. That boyfriend that you had when you were in grade 3, he might just be in the crowd. You never know. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further general business? Well, I'm like you. I've got a bit of general business here to go through. Just going back to the top. Again, I'd like to thank the state and federal governments for their contributions towards the Mission Beach Revitalisation Project. It was a huge bonus for us. Huge thank you to all the businesses, stall holders, Innisfail State College staff, council staff, and for anybody else that was involved in the successful Careers Day. It was a great event, heaps of students there, it was wonderful. I'd like to recognise the importance of the Domestic Violence Week and that approximately one woman is killed by her current partner or former partner every week. Not only does an act of violence happen in the home, but it also can occur within a workplace. I encourage anybody who feels that they are suffering from domestic violence to be brave and to start the conversation. And as Councillor Chewy pointed out, 1800 737 732 is the number to call. The community scorecard is now out and I encourage you all to take part in giving us your feedback. You will all receive a paper copy in the post. You can post it back or you can go online at yoursay.cassowarycoast.qld.gov.au. Scorecard closes Friday the 17th of June. And I just ask Councillor Chewy, could you please advise the Facebook page for people to go to find out all about the Tully 100 event, please?
Thank you. Yes, I didn't have that written down. There is a program. There's Tully 100 is the Facebook page, and the details of the website are also on that Facebook page. So yeah, there's a program. All the different events are there. Lots of old photos, but the actual program is available on that page and on the website as well. Thank you.
Is there any further general business from anybody? So that brings us to go into a closed session for our confidential reports. So I'd like to move into the closed session. This meeting will now be closed to the public in accordance with sections 254J, 1, 3B and G of the Local Government Regulation 2012 to consider the following confidential reports.
Just need to move for a second.
Yep. Moved by Councillor Chewy, seconded by Councillor Purvin. All in favour? Thank you. We'll move out of closed session to consider the following confidential reports. Item 11.1, Cassowary Coast Fleet Services as it relates to industrial matters affecting employees, and 11.2, Calendar Park Drainage Upgrade Tender CCW 000202 as it is in relation to negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government. So can we please have a mover? Councillor Jasper, seconded by Councillor Pervin. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. I'll pass across to you, Miss Bull.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, councillors. Good morning, So paper 11.1 is relating to fleet services. And under the Local Government Act 2009, Chapter 6, Division 2, 196(1), a local government must, by resolution, adopt an organisational structure that is appropriate to the performance of the local government's responsibilities. During Council's February 2023 structural review, it was determined that future review of fleet services would be conducted once the Director of Commercial Services was appointed. Having now conducted this review, it has been determined that further changes to the fleet services leadership team structure are necessary to meet the requirements of the Act. This report seeks Council's consideration of the proposed structural changes to fleet services as outlined in the business case. The recommendation is that Council note the report and attached business case, approve the establishment of the Manager Fleet Services role in the organisational structure, note the disestablishment of role 30015 and 30118 from the organisational structure, note the financial implications highlighted in the report, and authorise the Chief Executive Officer to make minor administrative changes to naming conventions within the structure on an as-required basis.
Thank you. Through the chair, going through to the attachments, could you explain what a telematics person might do, please?
Sure. So through the chair, telematics is the system that we're looking at adopting, which incorporates vehicle GPS tracking, but also safety measures, so around driver behaviour. And there is a project within Fleet Services to implement that across Fleet currently. That role has not been fulfilled, and so the disestablishment of that role will move that component into the manager responsibility.
And how much, you have mentioned some, but so this will allow that person, should this be adopted, to track, we will know where the vehicles that do have GPSs on them, we will always know where they are and what they're doing. Is that the situation?
Yeah, so a component, through the chair, a component of the telematics is around safety of our officers. So predominantly we're looking at prioritisation against those that are working in areas that have, less contact, so that we can see those. But we're also looking at optimisation of our fleet, so making sure that we've got the right vehicles in the right place at the right time.
Questions? So given I looked at the financial and resource implications, what are the financial implications and have we budgeted for them?
Thank you, Mayor. So the financial implications are around $99,000, including on costs, for the deficit between the roles and the appointment of the Manager of Fleet Services. That is offset partially through, there's two parts to it. There will be capitalisation of a component of it. Yeah. If that capitalisation isn't realised, then that component will fall through into operational efficiencies, and the overall deficit between the salary and wages costs will be funded through operational efficiencies that the manager will be in charge of delivering. So that's around better utilisation of our fleet, increased planned preventative maintenance rather than reactive, so increasing the uptime and availability of those assets, whether that's light plant or heavy plant, to enable the delivery of services across the business. And obviously planned maintenance is far cheaper than reactive maintenance in terms of that downtime, but also waiting for availability of parts.
So for us as councillors, will we see a report on that to show us the efficiencies so
Yes.
that we can see those savings coming back to us?
So the intention of that role is to have those objectives clearly outlined and those responsibilities with the manager, and then we would report quarterly or more frequently. So by Q1, we'll be able to identify those initiatives and projected savings from those, and then quarterly we would report on the progress of those savings.
Okay. Any further questions? We have a mover. Moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by, somebody want to second it? Councillor Reid. All those in favour? We're all in favour. Carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have item 11.2, the late confidential report of CCW 000202 Calendar Park drainage upgrade, and Mr. Goodman will present. That's all right.
Council, the purpose of this report is for Council to consider submitted tenders for CCW 000202 Calendar Park drainage upgrade. In 2021, Council identified significant structural issues with the major stormwater drainage system extending from Marine Lakes to the Johnstone River and Innisfail. Excuse me. Particularly in the last around 80 metres as it discharges into the Johnstone River. Rectification works for the infrastructure were initially scheduled to be undertaken in the dry season of 2022. However, they have been subject to delay due to weather impacts and administrative matters. The pre-tender opinion of probable cost for the construction of the works was $2.9 million for a scope of works that includes demolition of existing infrastructure, management of water, sewer and power services, temporary work structures, trench excavation works, culvert construction, acid sulphate soil treatment, dewatering, backfilling and the reconstruction of tennis courts and retaining walls. The public tender was released on the 27th of March 2024 and at the close of tenders on 2nd of May, 6 responses were received. Councillors, the recommended tender is around 30. Thank you very much. Is around 30% greater than the opinion of probable costs that was procured prior to going to tendering, and it will require significant in awarding this contract, if council chooses to do so, it will require significant additional funding in the 24-25 capital budget. The recommendation is that council accept the lump sum tender for contract CCW 000202 Calendar Park drainage upgrade as submitted by MGM Civil Proprietary Limited for the post-tender negotiated amount of $3,895,207 excluding GST. And in accordance with the Local Government Act 2009, delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract, negotiate, finalise and execute any and all matters associated with or in relation to the contract subject to Council's normal procurement policies and practices.
Councillor Purban.
Mr. Goodman, just a few questions. So how are we in this situation from previous? We'd already issued a tender for this once before.
Yes, through the Chair, Councillor Purban, we had, Council had entered into a contract to deliver this works previously. I can say that what I'm at liberty to say in a public space is that that contract was terminated by mutual agreement.
Okay. And moving forward, if this tender is awarded today, what are we going to do to mitigate the risk of flooding on the, how would you say, the western side of the floodgate. We got anything in place? Is there procedures in place as to cause we are experienced one of the wettest wet seasons since 1974, I believe, and going forward, I don't think it's going to get any better in the next 6 to 12 months.
Thank you for your optimistic view on the water outcomes.
Well, I'm only going by what I hear on the news in La Nina, El Nino.
I'm hearing understand. I guess we are expecting to be dealing with some very difficult conditions in and around working on this project, or our contractors, our awarded contractors will be, and I guess that's why we've taken particular care to recommend to council contractors that have got a good track record in delivering complex projects in difficult in those sorts of difficult constraints.
Yeah.
Certainly, flooding is a significant concern, and it's why we are recommending to you today, I guess slightly out of turn to how we might otherwise, given the amount of funding that's going to be required from next year's budget. In awarding this contract today, will allow, we anticipate, for those riskier parts of the construction to be undertaken in that period from late June through to very early in November. While there are no guarantees, that is statistically very much the period of time when we would expect to get very significant, heavy downpours, which could impact in this, I guess, in the property and flooding. So we have contingencies in place. If that was to, we can't rule out that those sorts of events won't happen during this period of time, but we have contingencies in place or plans in place if that was to happen. It's a very complicated project which is dealing with infrastructure, which is critical stormwater infrastructure for the performance in a very significant part of Innisfail. It's not an option to not repair it. We're doing the risk of not getting in and awarding this contract is I can't say to you that infrastructure is at imminent risk of failure, but it is closer to failure, much closer to failure than being in good condition. So that is why we believe that the lower risk strategy is to award the contract, renew that section of the culvert during this coming, what we would hope to be a dry or drier season.
Councillor Jasper.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Goodman. What is it exactly we're going to be voting on today? Are we going to be voting on whether we pay this extra money, or is it going to be a matter of asking for another tender?
Through the chair, we are recommending with this recommendation is that council would award a tender to MGN Civil Proprietary Limited to undertake this works.
Through the chair, council has gone out to tender for these works, and the report is considering the assessment that's been made based on the tenders that have been received and seeking to award. So it's a lump sum figure with relevant costs associated to project management contingencies as well.
12:13 p.m. I'm sorry. When I first saw this coming up on the agenda, that it was actually Calendar Park that was getting the drainage. I didn't realise that it was pretty much most of Innisfail that was coming through there. So I had fashioned a question because I've got a lot of other places like Silkwood that need their drainage looked at, and so my apologies for that.
Through the chair, there's no requirement for an apology at all. It's not obvious in the title or our report, so apologies for that. We talk about it as being Calendar Park drainage, and we talk about it where it originates is at Marina Lake. So, to be clear, this the reason that we are prioritising this, and that it is a priority from an infrastructure management perspective, is the really key strategic role that this infrastructure provides for the stormwater drainage of a significant part of Innisfail, both commercial and residential.
Councillor Pervin?
Yeah, just to back Mr. Goodman up there, probably in the last 10 years there was some work undertaken on the north side of the tennis courts where there was issues there with stormwater as well. Mr. Goodman, is that correct?
Yeah, there's some failed infrastructure just to the south of where this culvert runs across the road.
Right. Sorry, one more.
You're right.
I've seen the plans for this, Mr. Goodman, and I know, look, I'm part of the Innisfail Tennis Club, and they've asked me a couple of times about if this is to go forward and what's supposed to happen. They've got some questions in relation to future lighting that they'd like to have, but just the way the retaining wall and the bunting. Is there any way to, as this process progresses, can you talk in liaison with the local tennis club just about their future? They will be looking to put grant funding in it. It's the only two courts that don't have lights, and they have for a very long time looked at doing this. And with this moving forward, and if this tender's awarded today, they would like to be very close to the project manager to see what can, in the future, what can be done.
Through the chair, happy to undertake that the project management team continue to liaise with the Innisfail Tennis Club. We certainly have previously discussed with them the opportunity to engage with our contractor, and if they can identify works that the contractor can undertake while they're doing that works, something like footings for lighting or something like that, we're happy to, I guess, facilitate that process where Innisfail Tennis Club could undertake, I guess, pay for those works while we're delivering the extent of our project.
Councillor Jasper, no, you're right. So we have expended some money on this project already, given that we've already bought the culverts, right? And I believe we've put an amount into reserves. So what is the amount, and could this still bring on further variances into the future?
The amount that of cost to date on this project is $942,000. The largest component of those costs includes the procurement of, we call them principal supplied materials, but essentially we've bought the culverts that will be utilised for this project, and they've been sitting in place for a considerable period of time. So there is those expenses, design, project management, and other costs that have been expended to date. We did anticipate, as we've discussed earlier, that this project would have been delivered previously. So Council had allocated budget for this project and has since put those funds into reserves. That was at a previous budget review. Council moved $1.5 million into reserves to facilitate this project. So the total amount of funds that will be required to, we are advising now, of funds that will be required to deliver this project in full is $4.4 million in the upcoming capital budget. and that will, taking into account the $1.5 million that was moved to reserves, that's, I guess, new funds of $2.9 million. With regard to the question of variances or variations under the contract, I would love to say that there won't be any. We've done a lot of work and advanced the design and contract the second time of tendering this, so it is a better, we're in a better situation than we were previously. Unfortunately, Council, I can't provide guarantees. We are providing in our overall project budget what we believe is a sensible and reasonable amount for contingencies, but unfortunately I can't provide ironclad guarantees.
Given that this is not a new thing, this is upgrading something that's already there, it's broken, we need to fix it. We've already understood that, you know, with the cost of materials and services going up and up and up, I don't think it's going to get any cheaper, so we need to just push along, I think. Anybody got any further comments? No? Does somebody want to move the motion? No one wants to move the motion? Councillor McLeod, move the motion. Somebody to second the motion? Councillor Chewy, yes, second the motion. All in favour? Everyone's in favour? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us, with no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 12:20. Thank you.